Hey team, how you guys doing today? My name is Dave Glaser, owner of Fit Life Champions here in Denver, Colorado, and I wanted to take a moment out of your free time to connect on a topic of conversation that I feel is very important in the fitness industry. I may or may not have gotten the chance to share my own journey in this industry with you in depth, so if you don't mind, I'll just take a minute or two to do that. In my late 20s, I found myself just serving tables in a restaurant, jumping from bar job to bar job, and it wasn't satisfying at all. And I thought to myself that if I'm simply just serving tables in a restaurant, I might as well go back to school and get my 4-year degree, which I had always planned on doing. I just didn't necessarily know when the right time frame was to do that. So I knew that my daughter was coming up on 6 years old, 7 years old, and I knew in my heart that it was the most important thing for me to show her that it was important to get an extended education beyond high school. I had always promised myself to go back to college when the time was right, and when I was serving tables in a restaurant, I felt like that was the right time for me. So at 28 years old, I applied to 2 colleges in the area, and I got into both, and I made the choice at Metro State University. It took me 3.5 years to finish my 4-year degree because I transferred in a few credits, and that has made, really honestly, all the difference in the world, in my own life and then in my daughter's life as well. But jumping to my career, I didn't necessarily want to become a personal trainer because I wanted to work with athletes. Much like many of the trainers that I talked to out there, they also started out wanting to train athletes. That's a hard game to get into, so I decided to intern at the University of Denver with their strength and conditioning department. And it was the most challenging 475 hours I had ever done in order to complete my 4-year degree. It was mostly observational hours, and I really learned the key component of how not to treat teammates and how not to treat an athletic group. Our head strength coach was new to the position, and she was very overwhelmed, and it was very hard for her to coach me, plus coach the athletes, plus run the administrative side that it takes to be a head strength and conditioning coach at the Division I level. So looking back on it, I still see the value in my participation and my time spent as an intern at the University of Denver. We still bump into each other at conferences here in Colorado, and we do connect on a peer-to-peer level now. And I'm much appreciative of my experience there. But what I did see happen is that 2 strength coaches as assistants were hired while I was there near the end of my 475 hours. And I overheard, they were hired at the low 30s, both with a master's, both with experience. And I realized that I could not support myself and my daughter on a $32,000, $33,000, $35,000 a year job, working 60 hours a week. I would have had to keep my restaurant bar job and pursue my passion at the same time just to support me and my family. So it took me about 9 months to really become interested after graduation in training again. My mom reached out to me and she said, "Dave, I want to get into better shape. I know you have the certification and the education and the experience. Will you work with me once or twice a week? And I'll pay you for your time." And I thought, that's a pretty great deal. I get to spend more time with my mom, and I get to do something that I think I'm passionate about, but I want to dip my toe in the fitness industry water, so to speak. And we met up once or twice a week at local 24-hour fitnesses. She paid me for my time. It was a good side gig. And then we got busted. We got busted by an assistant fitness manager, and he asked me if I was training her, and I tried to play it off, and I said, "No, this is my mom. I've been doing 2 sets for her every 3. If you were paying attention, you might have seen that." And they must have recognized the talent of a trainer in their space, and it's frowned upon to actually train in a 24-hour fitness when you're not an employee of theirs. So my mom asked me to find something more private, and that's when I found a huge space, 6,500 square feet, with turf and sleds and barbells, and it seemed to be the right fit, and it was. For the first 3.5 years of my business, that's where I grew. I was able to keep my overhead low, and my revenue was able to creep up in that first year, all the way up to 29,000 and change in that first year. Well, I'd only been doing that since March until December to make $29,000 in my first year. And then the next year was a big game changer for me. I started to incorporate the systems that I'm teaching you now that I use still to this day on a daily basis. Each of these systems are part of my daily method of operations, which is one I want to share with you. What you don't see is you don't see the first draft of those systems. What you see is a work in progress, and I'm asking my teammates here at Fit Life Champions to always question the system. Hey Dave, what if I add this assessment? Hey Dave, what if I talk to a client about this before they come in and see me for the consultation? And I always say that's a fantastic idea because it fits your niche perfectly. Or let's workshop it a little bit more, and that's what the whole process of the mentorship is all about, is workshopping your ideas to get you to further your business down the road. Step one was getting systems in my business. The second step that was integral to go from $49,000 in year one to $49,000 in year two, an 84% increase in revenue in one calendar year, was a mindset shift. I went from, oh gosh, I'll just take anybody. I'll work with anybody. I'll take any type of client because I just need the revenue because I want to get out of my bartending job. Well, yes, that was fine, but that's a fixed mindset. And that's something that I needed to grow out of into a growth mindset. And what I did was I really specifically selected a niche to work with. And that's where 25 to 40-year-old women who want to begin a resistance training program safely came from. These women gravitated to me as their coach because I was empathetic enough, sensitive enough, and understanding enough that they were beginners and that they were willing to make a change emotionally, physically, and mentally. Because that's what we do here at Fit Life Champions, is we impact women's lives to make them stronger. And they needed the expert in the industry in order to see that person as the solution, bridging the gap between point A and point B. And that's part of a growth mindset. A growth mindset is somebody who accepts challenges in order to change. Yes, it was very, very hard for me to develop that first system. I'll show you that rough draft sometime, a picture of my first program that I ever wrote, and then my first Google spreadsheets that were so discombobulated that it's not even funny. So based on that change from step one to step two in the Google Sheets was an amazing jump for me. Realizing that the first time I do something, it's never going to be perfect. And that's one thing that I want to encourage you guys to understand is that first program you write might not be perfect. But the next program that you serve to the next client who's exactly like that first person, the second 30-year-old woman who comes into my studio who has the same goals and has the same desires as that first one, well, she can do that same program, and it makes my profession, it makes my system of my business smoother. But I needed to grow from that place to this place. And this is where I want you to be, setting yourself up for success, viewing yourself 2 to 3 to 4 years down the road where I'm at now, because that's where I want to get you. In this mentorship program, we're talking about mindset a lot. And it's about your mindset, because I learned step by step what I needed to do to take my mindset from point A to point B so that Fit Life Champions could become a vehicle for me to impact lives exponentially. And that's where you guys come in as mentorees. Is part of this mentorship program, you are the outreach to more people. You are the service provider that know who your ideal client is and where you want to go with this business. It is limitless, and that is what a growth mindset will help you set up in the future. Knowing that the possibilities of this industry are endless. Corporate wellness all the way to strength and conditioning for the pro teams, and everywhere in between. We can work with beginners, we can work with intermediates, we can work with advanced, but we're gonna narrow it down and focus your mindset on what you want out of this process. And in just 8 short weeks, this program will get you further down the road than I took 18 months to get. 18 months was really when that growth mindset shift happened for me and things exploded. I started to scale my business with small group training, online training, and honestly, I was able to charge a higher price for my one-on-one personal training because I had a few things click in my mind about who I wanted to work with, how I wanted to treat them as my clients, and really where this vehicle of the fitness industry career could take me. And that's what's led me to become your coach, your mentor in the fitness industry. Yes, things will be flexible. Yes, things will change. Yes, as long as we all have a growth mindset, an understanding of where we began and where we're going, in just 8 short weeks, we're going to take you leaps and bounds further than I got in the first 18 months of my business. So jump on board with me now in this growth mindset arena. And over the course of the next 8 weeks, I'm going to suggest to you, beginning today, with books to read that really help clarify the point that I'm trying to make today. Your first book, I'm giving you 2 options. So click the links below, because these are the 2 biggest game changers in my own mindset in the last 4.5 years of being a personal training coach, being a small group instructor, being a studio owner, and eventually training trainers across the country. Thanks again for tuning in. My name is Dave Glaser at Fit Life Champions in Denver, Colorado. Again, click one of the 2 links before for your quick synopsis of the 2 books that were major game changers in my business.